me, she told me at church one Sunday, said, I want you to come tomorrow. I want you to go to work for me at the dime store. Well, I just got out of high school, and I said, okay. I was anxious to do something. And so I started to work there, and me and this other girl was standing behind the counter one day, and Ben walked in, and I had never seen him, didn't know him. And he started walking down the aisle, and I said to that girl, I said, see that fella coming right there? She said, yes. I said, I'm going to marry him. She said, who is he? I said, I don't know. Because I'd never seen him before, you know. But the very next day, he come to church with his mama at Carolina. And so I hadn't been home very long out there. And Armanelle got one of the neighbors to bring her down here and said, my brother saw you at church this morning. He wants to meet you. He wants to know if it's okay if he comes down here and meets you. And I said, yes. I didn't know what my mother was going to say, But anyway, she went back and they come back, and that's how I met him. And I'd already seen him the day before, and I told that lady I was going to marry him.
How long did it take for you to tell him that you knew when you saw him?
On the third date, he asked me to get married.
Love at first sight.
And of course, we didn't get to get married that fast because with him being military, he had to wait till he could get enough days, And he was supposed to get a 10-day leave when we got married. And he come in on Friday afternoon, and we went and got our blood test. And we went to the hospital to get the blood test because we wanted to get married as fast as we could, and we could get the blood test quicker at the hospital. And so we got the blood test that day, got married the next day, and he had already told me, he said, I just got the weekend off, said they put me on alert because the war was getting pretty bad. So we went to Florella and spent that night. Come back that afternoon, and he left and went back, and it was 2 months before I seen him anymore.
Oh, wow. That wasn't very long. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I knew it wasn't long,
he was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And but he had wrote me a letter, and he told me he had rented an apartment, and he would be home that weekend to get me. Well, I packed all I could in a suitcase because we had to ride the bus back because he didn't have a car. And so we rode the bus back, and in about 3 months we come back home, and we still didn't have a car. And but I went back with him, and we wound up getting a car. I don't remember just how we got it or what kind it was, but it was an old car. But it run pretty good. And so then all of a sudden he was alerted to go to Germany. And that bothered him bad because Vicky was a baby. And but anyway, he left to go to Germany, and he told me, he said, as soon as I get over there, I'm going to sign up for you to come. And that was fine with me,
Yes, ma'am.
And although it was about 6 months before I got to go. Because at that time you had to get on the waiting list for an apartment. And, but they finally rented a German house so I could come on over there. And me and Vicki flew over there, and I had no idea that he was going to even be able to meet us, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was wondering how in the world I was going to make it to get to where I was supposed to go. Stuttgart, Germany, 5th General Hospital. Well, anyway, when I got off of that plane that day, there he was.
Oh, how exciting.
Mm-hmm. And I said, how in the world did you get here to get me? And he said, well, it wasn't easy, but I got here.
Oh.
And we went back to that house, German house. And everything in the house was German, stove and everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there. They were building new apartments there. And we stayed in that house 2 months until they got our apartment finished. And then we moved in it, but it was a brand new apartment. And we had one child, and they said, you're going to live in this 3-bedroom apartment. I said, 3-bedroom? Because see, they just been letting you have, if you had one child, they just let you have 2 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yes, said, that's all we got right now is 3 bedrooms. And said, you're going to get one of them.
Okay.
Robinson Barracks was the name of the apartment complex. So we lived there as long as we was in Germany. And when we come home, he requested we come by ship because I never rode a ship. And he wanted me to ride a ship. I didn't want to, but he wanted me to.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got there to get on that ship, they said, you're going to be on the ship. The name of it is the Rose. It was a ship that Ben served on while he was in the Navy.
Wow.
We got on that ship, and they give us the bedroom, and but then they told us that now every so often we'll have an alert, and we don't know when it'll be, but when the siren sounds, you just get to where you're supposed to be, a certain place on that ship we're supposed to be. And said, of course, now your husband can't go with you because he's got to go in another direction. All the soldiers had to get in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, but on that ship, there happened to be a man on that ship that had served through the war with Grandpa on that ship. And every time they had an alert, all of a sudden he would appear. And he'd say, I come to get Vicki. Said, you don't need to have to try to carry her to where you got to go.
Oh.
He did that every time. And that was the long time we heard from him after then, but then all of a sudden I quit hearing from him. And although we were still hearing from him when Ben died, but then all of a sudden I quit hearing from him. So I figure he died.
Hmm. It's amazing how stories are made.
And yes, but you never forget those kind of memories. But you know, the Lord tells us that there'll always be a helper.
Absolutely.
That regardless of how rough it gets, there will always be a helper.
Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Making it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. It'd be a hard road.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, you always give some good advice, Grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And stories.